What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is September 18th of 2017. Well, folks, I've been getting a lot of questions recently about the market of things in cryptocurrencies, and most of them relate to, of course, as you know, Bitcoin. With a 45 to 50% dominance in the market, we all know that Bitcoin either leads markets or it will drag them down. So, again, it's really important to really analyze this with a level-headed approach. Again, I'm still on a 50-50 plane, folks. I think that just as much as there's an opportunity for this to continue to new highs, there's also an opportunity for this to have the funding come back in and reach down towards around the low range of the 30,000. So, again, I want to take a level-headed approach on this, really show you all what I'm thinking with the markets, and go ahead and cover this in a few different perspectives, as well as cover some of the news to really talk about both the good and the bad in cryptocurrencies right now that might lead Bitcoin to go up or down. It's kind of a mixed game right now. So, first off, I got to say, we have had a pretty strong rebound since the sell-off. As we said on the channel, look for a pullback to the 100-day. You know, we've been talking about it for quite some time. It happened in the past pullback, and it did do that. Not only did we get that, we actually got a pullback all the way down to the previous resistance at 3,000, which is extremely healthy for Bitcoin to go through. And we can see that it pulled back down to those levels, and institutional buyers poured in. Ironically enough, there was some orders through JP Morgan, which just a few days ago was calling it, you know, a bubble. And I guess Jamie Dimon's one person, but and JP Morgan is not, just one, individual. However, I will say though that we did get a lot of institutional buying in, and that's a good sign. The one thing that I am a little bit curious about though is, we're up around almost 11.5% today. We've had a nice run up in Bitcoin. I'm really not sure if this is the level to buy. And the reason I'm going to say that is because we haven't seen a solidified close above the 50-day. Right now above it, but until we get a close on it, I'm not exuberantly confident. And another thing I got to say too, the volume has not been able to keep up with this day as well. As we saw over here, for example, the rebound upwards actually had not as much volume as the second kind of rebound day that gets over the 50-day. Now, of course, to be fair, these were extremely low prices comparative to the highs that we'd had, and we had a lot of institutional buyers come into it. Fair point. Again, though, we need a close above the 50-day for me to be really kind of like, okay, we're kind of getting towards the the buy side here, or there's no kind of excuse for this to come back down. Another thing too that I really want to mention why we're on the moving averages is that we didn't get the true pullback to the 200-hour like I kind of hoped for. Again, you don't need that for confirmation. Again, I'm just being a little bit of a skeptic here, as I always am. And now we are above the level of 4,000. If we can come up above here and find support, a pullback to 4,000 and get support here, rather than just a straight pull through back down to the 200-hour, I think that'd be really strong confirmation for Bitcoin. So again, we don't need that 200-hour confirmation as a guarantee. It would just be a nice solidifier if we could get that. If we could get maybe another one of these pullbacks where it's kind of a drastic pullback, but it slides down amongst the 200-hour, that'd be fantastic. But we'll have to see what it does. There's no confirmation. It doesn't need to do that. Bitcoin can do what it wants, and it's just simply an indicator I would like to see kind of match through if Bitcoin's really going to continue new highs. Now, I will say this though, going off of this viewpoint, I really want to emphasize that this was the level to buy Bitcoin, folks. I got in most of my position at 33.50. And I'm up on my position so far. I know my altcoin positions are doing quite well, as I'll try to cover throughout the video or the next few videos as we talk about on the channel. But right now, folks, you're paying more than a 33% premium from its lows. I'm not saying Bitcoin isn't cheap for the long term, but it was much better to add down here when everyone was panicking and selling. Because even if funding starts to pour back in, as we're going to talk about as a possibility, you would be at the lows. You would still probably be up even if Bitcoin comes down to 3,600. If you buy here and it goes down there, well, you can take a 10% loss like that instantly. So remember, exuberance can make up all the difference in a single day or two. We saw in this pullback, in just a few days, Bitcoin pulled back from 5,000 to 3,000. Okay, so just keep a level head in mind. Understand that you are paying a little bit of a premium at these prices compared to what you could have bought a few days ago, but we can all play Captain Hindsight and stuff on calling lows and stuff. So, if you feel like this is the good level to get in, you think your risk level profile is, fine at this level, then go ahead. You can add on some Bitcoin, but just be careful, okay, folks? Now, the other thing I want to talk about in the daily here is I like to look at the RSI and I like to look at the MACD. I'll be fair in saying this. As much as I think we could possibly get a pullback, the RSI has not reached the level that it usually gets to. When Bitcoin has comebacks, it usually comes around to the 60 on the RSI. We haven't gotten that yet, so that might mean there's more room to the upside. Maybe we need to get to 4150 or 4200. We might have a continuation on the daily candle. Again, I'm looking for the next few days. I'm not worried about just today. I'm still currently holding long on my my cryptocurrency right now, but if we get a confirmation that this needs a pullback or it can't hold on the MACD, which is I think more important, I think then we could see a pullback. The one thing I'm looking for is we still haven't gotten MACD confirmation. We're still on the lower end of MACD. Now, of course, it's usually good sometimes to buy on the lower end of the MACD before a cross, but a cross really solidifies that we're going to continue for the run up and go to new highs. So we're looking for, as I talked about, I'm using the MACD tool. We're looking for a cross on the MACD, and then a few days like we saw over here, a cool down phase. We don't want to go too exuberantly into the run up because remember, exuberance makes up all the difference, as we saw over here. What we want to see is a nice cool down phase where it's not exactly selling off, but it's holding its general price level, seeing a little bit of resistance, but also finding support, and generally seeing the 12-day EMA hold over the 26 EMA, which is the MACD. So we've got to see that hold and hopefully hold over that price level. So again, not being bearish, but we need the price strength confirmation, folks. Things don't just sell off and then rally back to new highs. You need to have a cool down phase, get people to accumulate, get ready to buy in, and then eventually rally to new highs. So again, I'm long-term on Bitcoin, not being negative on it, but we've got to be fair and realize that the volume isn't exactly there yet, and the price action is moving up quite fast. So now that we've taken a look at the price action, folks, you all know that potentially we could see a pullback in it. There's not much TA I can do with this with technical analysis. There just really isn't much. We have to wait and see if we can get some kind of shaky price action. Right now, it's just kind of, we had the jump up, a bull flag, and a rally continued. We got to see, though, if it can sustain itself. But again, the one thing I want to keep you all wary of is just how much effect the flooding had on this market just a few days ago. And it seems like we've forgotten how powerful that is. Now, we know not to care about flooding on this channel, but that doesn't mean we don't trade the news and stay ahead of the game. There was, for example, a lot of fleeing. A major Chinese Bitcoin conference fled to Hong Kong as the government cracks down in Beijing. So again, there is still the headlines coming out. CNBC posting headlines of fear in the market. JP Morgan's top quant strategist. I'll keep on. CNBC's website isn't the best. But JP Morgan's top quant strategist came out echoing the CEO's call that it's a pyramid scheme. I know these seem like flashy titles. We know this. We know that it's all, funding. We know that it's not real, and we know that they're buying. But again, there are a lot of investors out there that don't stay out of the game, and they think emotionally, and they push down the price, and they panic sell. Again, JP Morgan's also going to get stake in this now. They can lead market changes as well. They can sell off some of their portion, start pumping the headlines out there, and then they can start sparking fear in the market. Always keep in mind that with just like how it happened the other day, they can do it again. It's a very sad thing that the finance and media sector have such a holding over it, but it's going to become more and more apparent over the next few weeks and months as Bitcoin becomes a bigger topic and more people get involved in it. So always stay a little bit ahead of the game, folks. I want you to keep smart in that regard and make sure to understand that, headlines like this can come out and it can lead to very drastic sell-offs. So the one thing I got to say, though, the one thing that's really looking like an optimistic sign for Bitcoin is a new trend we're seeing in Japan. Japan has become a little bit of a safe haven for China. We've been hearing about China regulating on markets, and we've been hearing about, all shutting down of exchanges, ICOs, no more in China. Japan's become a little bit of a safe haven, almost kind of like a Switzerland, like a Swiss bank account almost, for Chinese investors to bring their money into and trade and invest freely. And to prove that, look at the amount of volume that's poured into Japan recently. It's beaten out. It's beaten out the leading Chinese exchange, OKCoin. That's pretty incredible stuff. Now, to be fair, it's only 6% of market share, but 6% makes it second place. And of course, I guess we have to be fair. If we scroll down, we could probably get all the BitFlyer exchanges and stuff with different currencies. This is just simply with the Japanese yuan. But again, if we take a look here, BitFlyer, the volume's coming in. Okay, so I guess most of it is actually from this one. But to be fair, they've got Ethereum, they've got Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. This might be South Korea 2.0. The money flowing into this as they add new coins. I don't know. We'll have to see. As we all know, Japan, as much as most Eastern most of the eastern part of the world, Asian countries in general, China, South Korea, all of these countries are getting really optimistic about cryptocurrencies. And Japan could be that safe haven. It really could cause some political tension between Japan and China, because China was thinking that it could simply just censor it out. But Japan might be that safe haven. So we'll have to see. $100 million is not enough volume to convince me. But again, I'm keeping my eye on this. This looks pretty good. And it definitely shows a little bit interesting signs that, the China funding might not even be worth it. It might be a, screw you, China kind of thing. We might just brush it off in the next few days. But we've got to see a little more volume come into this for me to be really solidified on that. And they've got to add a few more opportunities for investors outside of just Bitcoin on Bitflyer. So who knows? Japan might come in and sweep in and steal all that market share and save the day for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But again, keep in mind that the Chinese news on funding might come back. We might see JP Morgan and other finance head come on the media and manipulate the price. You just got to keep a level-headed approach, folks. And hopefully, Bitcoin, could continue to new highs. But if it comes back for a pullback, we'll know how to get out promptly. We'll know how to trade it smart. We know that we're watching on the moving averages. We're waiting to see if this will break the 200-hour. We're waiting to see if it'll come down, maybe get a little bit of support there, maybe support at 4,000. If it breaks those, though, again, expect a little bit of flooding to come in and maybe expect a pullback down to these lows. It can happen, folks. Just like it happened back here. We just got to be a little bit level-headed on it. I'm long-term on Bitcoin. I'm optimistic on it, but we want to trade smart if we're going to trade in this market, and we want to make sure we know when to add on the dips and the lows. That's it for the video, though, folks. I'd love to hear down in the comments down below what you all think about Bitcoin. Where do you think it's heading? Do you think crypto markets are going to continue to rally to new highs from these levels? Do you think that we're set for another pullback, and you think that Jamie Dimon's going to get off his chair and say, I want a little more Bitcoin, so let me go scare the market away? Folks, anything can happen in this market, so I'd love to hear down in the comments down below, get a few different opinions going, and get a discussion going. But until the next video, everyone, I will see you all later. Have a great day, and take care.